In the book of Acts, we see a layout of the labors of our fathers. Such functionaries that received the baton from Jesus and that were saddled with the responsibility of extending the frontiers of the kingdom of God. They were men and women like you and me. So we see their story as a major encouragement that God can use nameless people, faceless people to achieve his agenda in their dispensations. The ingredients of all the things that are needed to facilitate the move of God are enshrined in the book of Acts of the Apostles. And in my opinion, it's very detailed, and every good student that wants to be used as a recovery personnel to bring back things that were and now are not will need to look upon the book of Acts with great diligence. First of all, the challenge that was before our ancestors in the book of Acts was the advancement of Judaism. Judaism is an old religion. Judaism is established. The priesthood is ancient. The belief system is solid. And the oracles of their conviction are things that came from the mouth of God. Are you with me? So what I'm saying is that because of the establishment of Judaism in the territory, it is totally impossible for you to make a convert of a Jew. But when Jesus showed up, Jesus began to give, I hope you know that all Jesus' disciples were Jews. And that's the first wonder, because proselytes were converts from other nations that came to join Judaism. And that's the only line of possibility. Come and join. There was no possibility for a Jew to convert to believe something else. And the wonder of the book of Acts was that Jews were brought into this light. That's an impossibility. It's a sociological impossibility. When Jesus attempted to bring some form of capacity building to the functionaries that were around him so that they'll be saddled with the responsibility of kingdom advancement, there were a few things he told them. And we have some of those things enshrined in the book of Acts, chapter number 1. I don't want to take your time. I just want to talk about this. Are you with me? Part of the challenges of the early apostolic mission is the challenge of effective apologetics. Apologetics talks about bringing a defense for our belief, the reason for which we believe what we believe. Many of you know what you believe, but you cannot defend what you believe. It's a different ballgame. It's a different line of training altogether for you to have the competence to defend your belief. If we put you here and put a Muslim here, and then you want to defend your Christianity, you'll find most of us are incompetent in achieving that. It goes beyond just knowing it. It goes into some great technicalities. It goes into understanding of culture and so many things, and how the gospel can be appreciated from the prism of culture and the prism of philosophy. It goes into very deep capacities of argument. And if you go and check the verbs that were used to characterize the kind of ministry that Apostle Paul did, you will see verbs like he disputed with them. In apologetics, that's the training. You are trained to be able to dispute. You see those kind of verbs. And in modern day Christianity, we are not trained to have the capacity to dispute. And just in case someone doesn't feel your conviction registers in his heart as much as you do, many people become offended but that is a ground for dispute. So in order for doctrine to become solid and for people to be comfortable with the scope of our belief systems, some technocrats will have to be raised that have the capacity to defend our faith. Now, let me take you on a journey. Are you with me? Like when I went to Scotland, I went to Edinburgh in search of anything that has to do with John Knox, because I've seen John Knox in the spirit once before. So I went to Edinburgh, and then we found his house. So that it's like a museum now. Everything was kept, the seats he used, the tables he used, his study room was kept as much as possible. So when I got to his study room, a fire came upon my head and burned for 45 minutes. Because there was a covenant that God had with that man who happens to be an intercessor. And God must keep that covenant in spite of the fact that other generations have come and have pitched their tents with Satan. So the strategy by which God strikes that balance is that he keeps a remnant that he uses as instruments for the recovery of the things that God had promised their ancestors. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. For instance, the call of Moses was not because Moses was an intercessor. It was occasioned by things that were transacted generations before his arrival. He just was a vessel that became a victim of God's attempt to bring to pass the contracts and the agreements he had with the ancestors of the nation of Israel. So what I'm saying is that we are victims. We are victims of transactions that took place overhead. And God had an intention to preserve several heritages, and that's why he apprehended us as remnants. And our major merchandise is revival. May the Lord give you understanding.
Thank you for watching this video.
And remember to subscribe.